So now we're ready to move on to our next element of art, where we're going to be thinking about form and representing an apple via form. So with form, we think about three-dimensionality, having depth, light and shadow, highlights, incorporating depth. So how can we represent this in Illustrator? And this one is a little bit tricky. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to lock the shape layer. We're going to create a new layer and call this one form. And then we're going to go to our artboard layer and navigate to our form artboard. So when we're thinking about form, how can we represent this? All right, so you might want to start with a basic representation of an apple and then play around with it. And there's a lot of different ways you can do this. Something you might want to think about looking into is the effects. And so we have a lot of effects that we can use, and there's some that might be handy for your project. So when you want to do an effect, you have to actually select the object you want to apply the effect to. So make sure your appearance panel is open because this is where you'll be able to see the effect. So you select your object and go into effects. And here you can play around with some that might work for you. How can you represent form? Now form is three-dimensionality. So we have some actual 3D effects like extrude and bevel. And we can say click preview so we can kind of see what it's doing. Oh, maybe this is one that we want. So maybe play around with some effects. Maybe there's some amongst the 3D ones that would help, right? And you can see here now for this specific object, right, just sort of the core of the apple, there is a 3D extrude bevel. You can unclick the eyeball to see what it looks like without it or with it applied, and you can click the trash to get rid of anything. So you can play with some of those. What other things here might help us? So there's distort and transform. I don't know. There's stylize. This could be something drop shadow that's creating light and shadow. Remember, always click preview to be able to see the effect. So clicking the preview is very important because this allows you to be able to see what you're actually doing. And you can make changes here, opacity, offset. This is another one that you can do. And you can also continue looking on. There's other ones here in terms of artistic. And you can apply multiple effects to one object. And here you can see this is what it looks like when I do a 3D extrude and bevel and also a halftone pattern. And so play around, add some effects to some of your object and see how you can manipulate it to represent form.